we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from all kind of evil. What do we say? قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ. We ask protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of everything, the Lord of the twilight, the Lord of the daybreak, from whatever evil exists. That's what it means. Min sharri ma khalaq, from all evil that exists. So what we're going to talk about, it itself a little bit dangerous in the sense that we're talking about a very dark realm right now. And this is why we should just constantly just read mu'awwadatain. Mu'awwadatain are what? Surah al-Falaq and Surah al-Nas. So as you go through, if you feel something, just say A'udhu Billah or A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaytanir Rajim, or just read the mu'awwadatain, Surah al-Falaq and Surah al-Nas, okay? Alright, this is important, okay? Because we're going to talk about a subject that may invite some harm, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us protected. But we have to know this. We all have to know this because there's so much confusion about this, and people think very differently, and people get very obsessed or very, they get paranoid, right? There's a lot of paranoia about this as well. So I want to clear some of those doubts, inshallah, today. All right. So without further ado, let's get started. Magic. Why did I use the word magic? Actually, where does it come from? It's actually magic means something that the Majus do. In English, they're called the Magi's. Who were the Magi's? They were the priests, the Persian priests, the Zoroastrian priests, the fire worshippers of the ancient time. They were known as the Magi's, and they used to do things that the name stuck. Don't know if they were actually doing magic or what they were doing, but the name stuck. So magic means something that the Magi's do. That's where the term comes from, and the word Majus is also in the Quran, as we all know. But the Quran, when it talks about magic, it doesn't use the word magic, Majus. It uses the word Sihr. Sihr comes from something. For example, when we start to fast, what do? We do suhoor, right? We eat the meal. Suhoor. Why is suhoor called suhoor? Because it's a meal that we eat in the dark. So sihr itself means darkness, something that is invisible, something that envelopes, darkness envelopes. That's where the word comes from. So sihr is called sihr, magic, and in this case dark magic, because it cannot be seen that it's being done, and its effects sometimes are hidden and you don't know why. You can't really put a pin on it, right? So this is why it's called sihr. Clear? Now there is illusion, trickery, like a card trick or a dice trick or something that I would do. Is that magic, or is that haram, or is that not haram? Can I do card tricks, and can I pull rabbits out of the hat and stuff like that? Is that haram? Some scholars disagree. Me, my humble opinion, and some of the modern scholars would say, no, that is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about, because it's clear that it's an illusion. So they're called illusionists, not magicians, right? Magicians has a whole different meaning that we will learn, inshallah, right now. Okay? Everybody clear on that? Okay? I don't think, but I'm nothing. I'm nobody. Illusions are not magic, and they're not haram. Now, should you spend a lot of time wasting time? Because to learn the tricks of illusions, it takes a lot of work and perfection. You have to spend hours and hours on end on a daily basis in order to perfect the sleight of hand. Is it a complete waste of time in that sense? Absolutely. Should you rather be doing something productive? Absolutely. Yes. Black magic versus white magic. So magic is really ancient, it's old, right? At least 3,000 years old or so that we know of. And from the Quran, we understand that as well. People use across the world magic differently. There's white magic, which is supposed to actually be spiritual healing. It's positive. It does good things. It doesn't do negative things. So a lot of the cultures across the world use what is called white magic to create healing, for positive change, for encouragement, and those kinds of things. And there's black magic, which is used to cause harm. Okay, so here we're going to talk about black magic. Is there such a thing as white magic? That's a whole different topic that we can discuss later on. So across the world, magic is very, very common, especially, for example, parts of Africa, the West Africa, Central Africa. There's still magic being used there. And also as part of the slave trade, وَلِيَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ, when when America was forming, and there was slave trade to North America and South America. Part of that slave trade also came the magic that comes along with it. So that is why, if you actually study the culture in Haiti, for example, they have actually a religion based on magic, white magic, as well as some aspects of black magic. So Haitian voodoo is actually a thing. We'll talk about what voodoo is, inshallah. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, very commonly used, even in the Arab countries in South America and Southeast Asia. All of that magic is prevalent. All right, just moving on, inshallah. Pharaoh's magicians. Yes. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the largest topic in the Quran about the story of Musa alayhi salam, one of the largest component is the magicians of Pharaoh. Everybody familiar with the story? Do I need to get into it? Just very quickly for all. So when Musa alayhi salam was given the miracles by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where his staff became a snake and his hand would turn white, and some other miracles, the Pharaoh wanted to combat Musa alayhi salam, and he told him, I'm going to throw a big festival where thousands and thousands and maybe 100,000 people would come, and then I will make you look like a fool, because I will bring the best magicians that I can find and I can afford, because he could afford anything. He invited those big magicians, and then they had a throwdown, essentially, in that festival where thousands and thousands of people are watching. So here's the ayah where in Surah Taha, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قالوا, they said, Ya Musa, imma an tulqiya wa imma an nakuna awwala man alqa. They're asking, Musa, do you want to go first, or do you want us to go first? Right? To show our skills. قال بل ألقوا. So Musa alayhi salam says, no, you go first. Right? You throw. فإذا حبالهم وعصيهم يخيل عليه من سحرهم أنها تسعى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is saying that when they threw their ropes and their sticks and their staffs, it seemed يخيل إليه. It seemed to the people it was an illusion, essentially. It seemed to the people that that with their magic, the word here sihr is used. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word sihr, that their staffs and their ropes became, what's the word when the snake kind of slithers like a snake. It slithers like the snake. So here, I'm not going to talk about the whole story. What the point I'm trying to make here is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying it seemed to them, meaning it wasn't really real. It was an illusion, possibly. Was it an illusion? It's not 100% clear, but from the ayat you can surmise that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is talking about illusion. And in Surah Al-A'raf, for example, it's another clear evidence there. فَلَمَّا أَلْقَوْا, and when they threw, سَحَرُوا أَعْيُنَ النَّاسِ, the eyes of the people were bewildered. I can't speak today. Right? It seemed to them it was an impossible illusion. وَاسْتَرْهَبُوهُمْ, and they got scared. It was like, how are these ropes and sticks moving now? وَجَاءُوا بِسِحْرٍ عَظِيمٍ, basically they came with a great sihr. Or you can say it was great trickery. To be able to trick like thousands and thousands of people watching, it is a great act. Okay. And the story goes on. So this is one mention of sihr, possibly illusion in the Quran. Now let's talk about the actual sihr that we're going to talk about. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Sulayman alayhi salam. So I'm going to move quickly, inshallah. So Sulayman alayhi salam made a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال رب اغفر لي وهب لي, oh Allah, forgive me and grant me what? Mulkan, a dominion, a control, the expanse, لا ينبغي لأحد من بعدي, that no one else after me can ever attain. Give me the kind of control and a kind of dominion. This was a dua of Sulayman alayhi salam. All the prophets are given a dua. All the prophets use the dua except Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's saving his dua for the day of judgment, when he is going to actually make the dua for the forgiveness for all of us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us part of that forgiveness. Allahumma ameen. So this is the dua of Sulayman alayhi salam. One dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants to the prophets, that their dua is accepted. So this dua Sulayman alayhi salam made, that, oh Allah, give me a dominion nobody else can ever have after me. Then Allah subhanahu innaka antal wahhab, oh Allah, you are the one who are the bestower of all kinds of great things. فَسَخَّرْنَا لَهُ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted his dua and said, then we gave him control for al-rih, the wind. He had the control of the winds. تَجْرِي بِأَمْرِهِ, that the winds would blow based on his will, his command. Okay? وَالشَّيَاطِينَ, and the demons. He had the control over the evil jinn. كُلَّ بَنَّاءٍ وَغَوَّاصٍ, and those jinn that were builders, that could build things. So we learn from here that jinn can interact with the physical world, and they can, pick up heavy stones and whatnot, right? وَغَوَّاصٍ, and those who are deep divers, who can go deep inside the ocean and possibly bring like pearls and whatnot and from the bottom of the ocean. غَوَّاصٍ وَآخَرِينَ مُقَرَّنِينَ فِي الْأَصْفَادِ, and then he had the rest of them chained up. Basically, he had control over the jinn. How did he have control? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him. That was his miracle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him that control. Okay? And in Surah An-Naml, we learn that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also taught him mantiq at-tayr, the speech of the birds. He could understand the birds. Okay? وَأُوتِينَ مِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ, and he was given from lots of things. And this was a great blessing for Sulayman alayhi salam. Just very briefly, one time Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was praying, and there was a shaytan, and ifrit came, the evil jinn, if you remember the lecture from last week, and ifrit came and he was bothering Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the salah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam grabbed a hold of him, okay, and then he let him go actually, and he's like, I remember the dua of my brother Sulayman, because he said, oh Allah, give me the control that nobody else after me can have. So what we learned here, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was also given the control of the jinn, but he chose not to use it. He's like, if it were up to me, I would tie up the jinn for everybody in Medina to kind of watch and to see what's going on. Okay, there's different narrations on that. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also had control, but he gave up that control for the sake of his brother Sulayman alayhi salam, because he's remembered the dua. So jinn were the builders. They were the builders who actually helped Sulayman alayhi salam build that first Masjid al-Aqsa, right? The Temple of Solomon. The beautiful, the amazing, the wondrous first temple of Solomon. It's in the Quran. وَمِنَ الْجِنِّ مَنْ يَعْمَلْ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِ. And the jinns were actually working on behalf of Sulayman alayhi salam by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they were building harib and tamathil and jifan and qudur, basically cauldrons and basins and statues and all of these lofty shrines. The jinns were actually helping Sulayman alayhi salam build all that stuff. There is a Jewish lore. This is not from the Quran. This is not authentic. But it is said, obviously we're not sure, but likely this is not true. Sulayman alayhi salam, you must have heard, was possibly given a ring. It's called the Ring of Solomon. And through that ring, there were some inscriptions on it that he could control the demons. There is an apocrypha called the Testament of Solomon where all of this is discussed. Anybody knows what an apocrypha is? Yeah. So these are the books of the Bible that are not in the Bible. Okay, they're called the Apocrypha. They're not considered part of the canonical Bible. They're not part of for example, in the Old Testament, there are 28 books or so. And then if this was included, this would be like the 29th book. It's not included in there. Anyway, it was found later on in the Nag Hammadi and all that good stuff. It doesn't matter. But there's an interesting, if you actually read it, I've read it. It's got interesting discussion and a conversation between the demons and Sulayman alayhi salam, wallahu alam, and what that means. That if there's a discussion about the ring. The ring becomes important as a tafsir element for another ayah, which we're not going to talk about here. It's not necessarily relevant, so I'm skipping it. But I'm telling you, there's a Jewish lore out there, folklore, that Sulayman alayhi salam and the ring, whatever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given him miracles. Okay, this is how the Muslim need to understand. Like, can anybody steal Sulayman alayhi salam's ring and suddenly now they can control the jinn? No. But these stories, they say that. It doesn't work that way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's miracles are granted to the people, not to things. Does that make sense? And this is by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah knows best. I just wanted to put that to bed. That's why I brought that. Okay, you all know about Bilqis and the throne, and her throne, right? You know who Bilqis was? Queen of Sheba. Have you heard of Queen of Sheba? Sheba in Arabic is Saba. It's also a surah name, Surat Saba, right? That talks about the people of Saba. In Surah An-Naml though, there's the discussion of the queen. There was a queen in Saba. Where's Saba? Where's Saba? Yemen, exactly. It's in Yemen. And there was a queen there in the ancient times, at the time of Sulayman alayhi salam. She had this huge, humongous throne. And here, I'm just bringing this ayah to you to talk about just kind of an element of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given Sulayman alayhi salam this control over the jinns, right? Over the shayateen. Sulayman alayhi salam, a bird comes and tells him, the hudhud comes and tells Sulayman alayhi salam, this queen has a gigantic throne. Long story, but then he's standing in front of his army of animals and the winds and the jinns and other things possibly, right? And people possibly. Then he asks his army, actually he talks the top people in his army, including the top jinns that he had. قَالَ يَا أَيُّهَا الْمَلَأ. It's like, oh my elites, right? The top commanders and whatever leaders that he had. أَيُّكُمْ يَأْتِينِ بِعَرْشِهَا. Who will bring her throne to me? I want her throne. قَبْلَ أَنْ يَأْتُونِي مُسْلِمِينَ. Basically, he wanted the Queen of Sheba to submit to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He wanted Queen of Sheba to become a Muslim. She was an idol worshipper at that time. قَالَ عِفْرِيتٌ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ. So from those elites, one of the ifrit of the jinn, one of the biggest, strongest jinn, he said, أَنَا آتِيكَ بِهِ قَبْلَ أَن تَقُومَ مِن مَقَامِكَ. I can bring you the throne before you get up from where you're sitting down, from where you are. Before you can get up, I will bring you the throne. وَإِنِّي عَلَيْهِ لَقَوِيٌّ أَمِينٌ. And I am for you, at your service, O Sulayman alayhi salam. I'm strong and I am trustworthy, meaning I'll do it. And then the story goes on. And then after that, the throne was brought to Sulayman alayhi salam. It is unclear how, but it happened one way or another. And then Sulayman alayhi salam made a beautiful dua. هَذَا مِن فَضْلِ رَبِّي. You know how we put the plaques or the paintings or what have you in our homes that says هَذَا مِن فَضْلِ رَبِّي? That's from here. This is from the blessings of my Lord. لِيَبْلُوَنِي. So he would test me. Allah will test me. أَشْكُرُ أَمْ أَكْفُرُ. Am I grateful or am I an ingrate? Right? Sulayman alayhi salam constantly reminding himself. By the way, Surah An-Naml is beautiful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us an opportunity to kind of study. There's a whole Queen of Sheba passage. It's just so many benefits and so many beauties in there, but we're going to move on. What do we learn? Sulayman alayhi salam had control of the jinn. And we saw evidence of that in the Quran. Now, in Surah Al-Baqarah, the famous ayah, very long ayah. We're not going to read the whole ayah, but we're going to try to understand. This ayah speaks about the origin of black magic. Right now, we've only been talking about jinns, right? And the devils, the bad jinn and the good jinn. Now we're going to talk about black magic. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in ayah 101 that the people of the Bani Israel, the Jews at that time, actually they were called Jews by that time, I believe, that Allah had given them the Torah, right? The scripture that they should use. What did they do? They threw it behind their backs. وَرَاءَ ظُهُورِهِمْ كَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. They didn't find any need in it. They didn't know anything about it. وَاتَّبَعُوا. But instead what did they do? وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينَ. And they followed what was chanted, recited by the shayateen. Okay? عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ. On the dominion of Sulayman. How did that happen? How did suddenly people started to follow the shayateen? Because who had the control over the jinn and the shayateen? It was Sulayman alayhi salam. How did that happen? So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is coming to the defense of Sulayman alayhi salam. All of these Jewish lore that we hear that jinn could that Sulayman alayhi salam, there's some other lores that he did some inappropriate things. That all of that is falsehood. All of that is false. Muslims, we elevate the levels of the prophets and a mighty prophet like Sulayman alayhi salam, they commit no sins, no major sins, nothing like that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes to his defense and says, corrects the thinking of the Jews. وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانَ. And Sulayman alayhi salam did not do kufr. He was not an ingrate. He followed the commandments. وَلَكِنْ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا. It was the evil jinns, the shayateen, that actually disbelieved. What did they do? يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ. They taught people sihr. Who taught people sihr? The shayateen. Origin of sihr. Everybody with me this far? Okay. يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ. Let me make this a little bit larger for you guys, so you guys can read along with me and I'm not the only one reading. وَمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى الْمَلَكَيْنِ بِبَابِلٍ. And what was revealed upon the two angels in Babylon. So that Babylon is mentioned in the Quran, بِبَابِلٍ. And to what was revealed to the two angels in Babylon, the names of the angels were Harut and Marut. They were Harut and Marut. Okay. Actually, if you look at ancient Mesopotamia, around the time of Sulayman alayhi salam, which was 1000 BC. 1000 BC. Everybody with me? 1000 years before Isa alayhi salam. Okay. 1070 years, 30 years before Isa alayhi salam. That was the time of Sulayman alayhi salam. But in Babylon, though, Sulayman alayhi salam was not in Babylon. Jewish history, I don't want to get into it right now, but it was around the same time. But the Jewish people were in exile in Babylon, and then in Babylon, two angels came down, Harut and Marut, and they said, وَمَا يُعَلِّمَانِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ حَتَّى يَقُولَا. And they are the ones who taught people magic, the two angels, by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are multiple ways to understand it. I'm just giving you one narrative, okay? This is not the only understanding. Everybody clear? It's not the only understanding. I'm just giving one narrative. The two angels, Harut and Marut, by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, introduced people to magic, black magic, sihr. But they said, حَتَّى يَقُولَا, they both of them said, إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ فِتْنَةٌ فَلَا تَكْفُرْ. We are just a test. We are testing you. We're giving you this dark power. Okay? But this is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So do not do kufr. Meaning, don't follow this, follow the Torah instead. فَيَتَعَلَّمُونَ مِنْهُمَا. And what they learnt was from Harut and Marut, مَا يُفَرِّقُونَ بِهِ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَزَوْجِهِ. And what would separate a wife from a husband from his wife. What would create cause for separation, right? Hatred, animosity between spouses. This was what was taught. Okay? وَمَا هُمْ بِضَارِّينَ بِهِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and they could not cause any harm through this magic unless it was by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيَتَعَلَّمُونَ مَا يَضُرُّهُمْ وَلَا يَنْفَعُهُمْ. And they taught what will cause harm but no benefit. No white magic. No white magic. Only dark, harmful black magic. وَلَقَدْ عَلِمُوا لَمَنِ اشْتَرَاهُ مَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنْ خَلَاقٍ. And they knew that whoever follows and purchases magic, meaning trades magic for the Torah, on the day of judgment, they will have no share, meaning there's no goodness. So why is black magic haram? Why is sihr haram? This ayah is full of it. You know, Sulayman didn't do kufr. It was the shayateen that did kufr. And the angels, Harut and Marut, what are they saying? Don't do kufr. Don't follow what we're telling you. Don't follow it. We're giving you this power, teaching you this power, but don't follow it. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, those who actually purchase this and trades it and does such an act, for them in the judgment there is no share. Meaning, there is no share of goodness. But they followed anyway. That was the start of magic that actually spread. And actually, if you read the Talmud, long story, but there's the books of tafasir, for example, just like we have books of tafasir, the Jews also have books of tafasir. If you read the Talmud, you'll find lots of stuff about magic. Lots of stuff about magic. Okay, moving on. Any questions? That's good? Clear? Okay, moving on, inshallah. Shayateen can cause harm. We just learned from the story of Bilqis, the queen of Sheba. Bilqis, by the way, it's not a Quranic name that we know. It's just from other tafsir literature and from other historical methods we know that possibly her name was Bilqis, the Queen of Sheba, Queen of Saba. Okay? That's just a side tangent. We know from that story that the jinn could actually interact with the physical world. Not just their world, but the physical world. They could lift up the throne and somehow port it, beam me up Scotty kind of thing. Port that gigantic throne of hers. It was supposed to be gigantic. It was bejeweled. It was full of jewels and beautiful, right? It's in the Quran. And they lifted it up in a blink of an eye and brought it all the way to where was Sulayman alayhi salam? Where was he? Palestine. In Quds, right? In Jerusalem. All the way from Yemen to Jerusalem in a blink of an eye. And as we learned last week, possibly one understanding is Jinnat are part of the energy spectrum. So they could convert matter to energy and energy to matter. Wallahu a'lam, we don't know. This is all speculation. But somehow they're able to do it, and this is possibly how. So what we learned is they can interact with the physical world. If they can interact with the physical world, can they push you if they want? Yeah. Can they hurt you, harm you? Can you bruise you? Possibly. Okay, we don't know any of this for sure. Okay, I'm going to get into that inshallah. But they have abilities we don't have. Right? Some jinn are stronger than others, as we know. Ifrit could do that. That was an amazing feat. Not all jinns can do that. Some jinns are weaker, just like some human beings are stronger than others, some more capable than others. Jinns are the same, okay? And they can interact with the physical world. Okay. But why would they cause human beings harm? Why? You remember the primal jealousy, right? Right? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Iblis what? Qala, Usjudu, told everybody, bow down to Adam alayhi salam, to the human being. Fasajadu, all of them bowed down except illa Iblis, except Iblis. Qala, he said, there's many ayat, but we brought this one in particular because it kind of hits home right now on the rationale behind it. Asjudu liman khalaqta tina? Do you want me to bow down to somebody who's made of clay? Meaning I am created from fire and you created this from clay and you want me to bow down to him? قَالَ أَرَأَيْتَكَ هَذَا الَّذِي كَرَّمْتَ عَلَيَّ. He then mocks the creation of Adam alayhi salam. He mocks the creation. Iblis does. He's like, this? Do you see this that you have honored over me? That's what he says. This meaning Adam alayhi salam. He's calling him this. You've honored him over me? So there's this jealousy, the root of the jealousy between the jinn and he, as we learned last week, the Iblis was from the jinn, kana min al-jinn, and then there's this jealousy. This is how scholars understand that there's this animosity, this primal, before creation animosity, before human creation animosity between jinn and human beings. Okay, then why also would jinns be able to harm human beings? As a test. For example, we all know the story of Ayyub alayhi salam. And Ayyub alayhi salam, وَاذْكُرْ عَبْدَنَا Ayyub, and mention our slave Ayyub alayhi salam, إِذْ نَادَى رَبُّهُ, when he made a dua to his Lord. When he called out to his Lord, أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ shaytan. Shaytan has touched me. He didn't blame Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's like, shaytan has harmed me, has touched me, بِنُصْبٍ وَعَذَابٍ. He has harmed me with ailment and torment, with disease and torment. So, multiple ways to understand it. One understanding is, shaitan can also cause disease. Wallahu a'lam. Okay, this is right from the Quran. Okay, multiple ways to understand this. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing us, right? We're tested with hunger, we're tested with loss of life, we're tested with our situation, we're tested with health. It's test. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is creating these ways to test us, right? Also our deeds. Because whatever happens to us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says is because what you are doing, right? As we learned last week, that whoever turns away from the mention of Ar-Rahman, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, نُقَيِّدْ لَهُ شَيْطَانًا فَهُوَ لَهُ قَرِينٌ, that Allah appoints a shaitan that continues to then misguide him. And it becomes his companion. Okay? And then, possibly, no evidence, direct evidence, possibly their own volition, meaning jinns just want to. They just want to cause harm. Why? Or not harm. They might be just like we talked about last week. Just like you have a pet cat or anything like that, right? A bird. You love the bird, right? It's not your species, but you love the bird, right? Just like that, the jinns, they can see us and we can't see them. So when they're seeing us, maybe they like us, right? And they want to be close to us and interact with us for whatever reason, right? When they're frustrated, they can't do anything. Maybe they poke you around or something. I don't know, right? And lift things up for you, do things for you. Uncommon, super uncommon, very rare, okay? But then there might be, because of the primal jealousy, maybe they hate you. They hate you for who you are. They hate you that you're doing ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not doing the bad things. They want to misguide you, right? This is the most likely reason for hatred, for bullying, for reasons of pure evil. They want to harm you. Or they feel invaded because, you came into their space. They were happily living, doing jinni, shaitani things in some desert somewhere in some valley, and you came over there and you camped over there. They're like, oh man, why are these guys here? We were here just having a party, and now these humans have come over here, and let's go scare them, right? Let's go harass them. And because they don't like human beings, then they might do that. You understand? So I'm giving you these reasons why this is not comprehensive, but just an idea of why this harm might exist. Also, the last reason, and this is the main reason why we're here, inshallah, they are asked to harm human beings. By human beings. Someone tells the jinn, go harm such and such person. Everybody with me? And they have these abilities. And do the jinns actually do the harm? So just like human beings, jinns also have like leaders, and they have their subordinates, and the smaller jinns. The leader jinn is asking the smaller jinns to do their job, right? It's actually in the Quran, طَائِفَةٌ مِنَ الْجِنِّ, they come in bands. Okay, there's a leader, and we learn from the story of Sulayman alayhi salam as well, the story of Bilqis, when he talked to the leader shayateen, right? Al-Mala, right? Okay, so the important thing to note here is what? The human beings are asking the jinn to cause harm to other human beings. Okay. Why? How? Do humans control jinn? Let me ask you. Do humans control the jinn? No. Sulayman alayhi salam controlled the jinn? Yes, he was an exception. It was a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Human beings have zero control over the jinn and the shayateen. Zero. No one can control the jinn and the shayateen. So why would they listen to a human being? What do they have to gain? Money? Do the jinn want money? They don't want money. They don't want your credit card. They don't want your car. Right? They don't want your things. They don't want your house. Yeah. We already said it is kufr. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. It is actually, have you heard, deal with the devil? To sell your soul to the devil? What the human beings do is they literally sell their soul to the devil. Meaning they worship the devil. Satanic worship, devil worship. When you worship the jinn feels like, I'm being, look at this lowly human, right? And I am this high jinn and shaytan and so powerful. He's worshiping me. Okay, fine. You have a wish. What do you want me to do? Get it? It's like, oh, can you harm that person? It's like, okay, maybe. Right? You understand? Devil worship. Deal with the devil. Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And why would human beings do that? Why do human beings harm other human beings anyway? Don't we do that anyway?
Yes.
To shoot, to kill, to destroy, to bomb, right? So now they have this dark power. It's very exotic, right? It's like, I can harm and like nobody can catch me. Nobody can catch me. That I'm the one who is actually causing this harm because there's no direct physical relationship between. So they're actually using, when human beings are using the jinn as the hitman to actually do their deed and actually harm another person. Why would they cause harm to another person? Jealousy, hatred, money, power, right? Love, hate, envy, all of these things. Why is it kufr? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يَتَّخِذِ الشَّيْطَانَ وَلِيًّا, and whoever takes the shaytan as their protector, as their friend, مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, other than Allah, فَقَدْ خَسِرَ خُسْرَانًا مُبِينًا. And we've learned, this is just one example, then he's an ultimate loser. Okay? The ultimate loser. One of the 7 deadly sins. You must have heard about the 7 deadly sins, everybody, right? It's a hadith actually. It's a hadith, Muslim, al-Bukhari. Allah subhanahu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, stay away from the 7 destructive sins. Okay? Ash-shirku billah. Okay? Was sihr. And sihr. And black magic. Shirk and black magic. And there's others as well. I'm just going to move on, inshallah, so I can entertain some questions. Practices of devil worship. So now, you want the jinn to do things for you. You want to, how do you placate the jinn? How do you placate the jinn? You do sacrilegious practices. You do things I cannot even say in this masjid. You can think of the worst things, and if you think they're worst things, think of worse things than the worst things. That's what they do for the jinn. Sacrilegious practices, grave desecration, human feces and animal and blood sacrifice, and running around in the graveyards and humiliating themselves. They humiliate themselves. They will be covered in filth and nasty stuff, and they will desecrate the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They'll desecrate the Quran, and they'll desecrate the ayat, and they'll curse the sacred things, right? The curse, for example, I don't even want to say. You guys understand? Yes. You understand? And they do that, why? To get jinn on their side, to get the shayateen on their side. I don't want to say jinn anymore, because there's good and bad, right? Shayateen on their side. And they also want to glorify and worship the shayateen. You see how horrible and low you have to go to be able to do sihr? It's ridiculous. By the way, is everybody good at that? All of the black magicians are no. Just like everybody else, there are some like super experts that can do that, and some they just try and they probably are not that great. Okay, so there's levels of. Don't consider like every black magician to be good. Okay, not that you will encounter any. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, for example, talks about devil worship in the Quran. He says, "قالوا بل كانوا." So these are the people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about those people. بل كانوا يعبدون الجن. They were the ones who were worshipping the jinn. أكثرهم بهم مؤمنون, and they used to believe in them. الشيطان يعدكم الفقر. The shaytan is inviting you to poverty. Okay, what does that mean? Basically, when you want to give money, the shaitan comes and tells you, oh no, you'll get poor, don't give sadaqah. Another way. Shaitan, faqr is not just poverty, is also what? Need, right? Shaitan makes you feel needy, like you want something. You don't want to give anything. You don't want to give your time. You don't want to give your love. You don't want to give your compassion. You don't want to even give a smile to somebody to make somebody's day. Shaitan is telling you, no, don't do that. It'll take away from you, from your time, from your... If you are the one who actually does self-deifies, right? Considers themselves in individualism, the sense of individualism and hedonism, and you all want to be powerful. It's like, why do I want to... I have all this knowledge. I don't want to give that knowledge to other people. No, I want to be the one who wants to be known as a knowledgeable person, not this other person. You understand? So that sense. So this is what this ayah is really deep. الشيطان يعدكم الفقر. The shaitan is inviting you to need. ويأمركم بالفحشاء. And he is telling you to do filthy things. And he's telling you to do filthy things. والله يعدكم مغفرة. And Allah invites you to forgiveness. مغفرة منه وفضلا. And blessings from him. والله واسع عليم. And Allah is all knowing, all capable. Let me introduce you a term you may not be familiar with. Left-hand path versus the right-hand path. It's actually in the Quran too. Ashabul Yameen wa Ashabul shimal. This actually term is a very ancient term. Left-hand path versus the right-hand path. Who are the kinds of people who would actually do stuff like this? Stoop to such low, humiliating levels for themselves just to cause harm to another person. These are the people who will self-deify versus, so they want to be gods. They want to be in control. Like Pharaoh, remember? Ana rabbukumul a'la. Right? He said, I am your high God. I don't need God. And the right-hand path people, what do? They depend on Allah. They only depend on Allah. Right? I submit to Allah. The left-hand path people, they think God is dead. Meaning what? I don't need God. And the right-hand people, they're saying, I need God. I need God for everything. I even need God for the blood to flow in my veins and for me to breathe. I need God. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? The left-hand people, they want to blaspheme, right? To say horrible things about the signs of Allah and what is sacred. And what do the right-hand people do? They glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They exalt the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Invasion versus boundaries. The left-hand people, they invade other people's privacy, territory, their security, their safety, right? And what do the right-hand people? They have boundaries. They know that's his space. That's his property. That's his privacy. That's his security. I'm not going to invade. But the left-hand people, they want to invade, right? Immoral versus moral. So they will say, why do we have morality laws? I have this feeling, I want to be immoral. I want to be rude and obnoxious and hurtful to someone if I want to, right? You guys get the idea? Evil versus good. Filth versus pure. Abuse versus nurturement, right? Darkness versus light. Take versus give, right? Destroy versus construct, build, right? And these are the words in the Quran. Rebellion, Harut. Have you heard Harut? Yes. Left-hand path. Rebellion against Allah and everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala holds to be sacred, right? And sacrament, right? They want to rebel against that. And what do the right-hand people do? They submit to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No rebellion. They submit to Allah. Right? Hedonism, hawa is in the Quran. Hedonism, feeding your lower desire and lower selves. Right? Hatred, animosity. I feel like doing this horrible thing just because I want to. Right? That feeling. Versus asceticism. I don't want to do anything. I only want to be doing things for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Ingratitude. Kufr. That's the word. Ingratitude. Kufr means ingratitude versus gratitude. Shukr. This is the left-hand path versus right-hand path. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not make us from the left-hand path people. Ashab al-shimal. Allahumma ja'alna min ashab al-yameen. Allahumma ja'alna min al-awwaleen. Allahumma ameen. You guys understand why the kind of mentality it takes to be the person that does and indulges in black magic? Horrible human being. Does it make you sick in the gut? I don't know. It makes me sick in the gut. Okay. How do they contact the jinn? So they do all these nasty things. So it's called divination. You familiar with the term divination? Divination actually means to calling the occult, to get contact with the unseen, to get contact with the jinnat and the shayateen. Okay, it's called divination, summoning the shayateen. So there's different practices. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I'm not at all expert here. Allah has given me a little bit of knowledge, so I'm sharing with you. Okay, there's a lot of different schools of thought. Just like there's schools of thought of different practices in the black magic sihr, there's also schools of thought. There's different practices that are employed to summon the jinns and to actually do the horrible things. One way to invite the shayateen is just to do sacrilegious things, be people of the left-hand path, right? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? Whoever turns away from the dhikr of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appoints for him a jinn, a shaytan, right? So if you do horrible things, you don't pray, you don't listen to the Quran, all you do is listen to music and that's what you love and you feed your lower self and you do horrible things you're not supposed to do, all of those things, you're going to invite what? Oh man, this guy's my idol. I want to be his friend. The jinn goes, okay, let me go and contact this person. Let him know I exist so we can kind of band together and do stuff, right? Just being a horrible person will invite the jinn. There are other mechanisms as well. There's a concept called gematria, numerology. You guys know about this? I want to tell you a little bit about this. Everybody knows 786? What does 786 mean? Huh? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim? Yeah, it is. I'm not going to talk negative about 786. Don't worry. I'm scaring all of you. All your faces are like, oh, I don't know what he's going to say now. About 786. Basically, every letter, this is not Islamic. This comes from pre-Islamic. This is Phoenician. Even Jews used to use this, right? Every letter of the alphabet is assigned a number, but it's not in the order of the Arabic alphabet that we're used to, or the Urdu alphabet that we're used to. What do we say? Alif, ba, ta, tha, jim, ha, kha, right? Right? Everybody with me? Okay, that is in new order. Actually, the ancient Phoenician, so Arabic and Hebrew and Aramaic and Greek and all of they come from this root language called Phoenician. Okay, ancient Phoenician. It had a order. That order is still used today. Have you ever heard of Abjad? Yeah, Abjad. How was no? Huruf Abjadiyya? No? Okay. Anyways, there's an order. So the Alif, Ba, Jim, Dal. Alif is 1, Ba is 2, Jim is 3, Dal is 4, so on and so forth. How is Hukbiya? By the way, you know this order. It's still embedded in the English alphabet. Still. You want to see? You want me to blow your mind? Who can recite ABCs for me? Come on, quickly, come on. Yeah. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. You see? You see that? Okay, another one. The last three letters of the alphabet, what are they? X, Y, Z. X, Y, Z. So you know, in Spanish, X is pronounced as what? Ha, right? Mexico? Ha. Yeah. X, Y, Z. And there's more. Anyways, I just want to tell you. Okay, so every letter is assigned a number. What they do is they use gematria to actually, you can't say horrible things, right? So instead of saying horrible things or writing horrible things, they encode the horrible things in numbers. So you take a word and then you use those numbers and add up all those numbers, and you either write the numbers in sequence or you give the total. This is where, for example, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, if you add up all of the letters and you assign all the numbers, you'll come up with 786 as a total. So just to let you know, this is what gematria is. Everybody good? But there's a whole science of numerology that's much deeper than that. Then they use astrology. Now going back, sorry. So this was just me just telling you what gematria is, okay? But going back, we were talking about how do you invite the jinn and the shayateen, right? So being a horrible person and sinful person, using astrology, seances. You know what a seance is? Where you turn the lights off and you sit together and then you say these incantations and these spells and what have you that you learn from somebody to invite the shayateen. Okay, a seance around like a candle lights and whatnot and all these horrible things using sigils. So remember we talked about amulets and all of that. If you actually open up the amulets, you will see a lot of the amulets. We'll talk about that in a few, inshallah. The amulets, if you open them up, they're pieces of paper inside, right? What's on the pieces of paper? Usually they will tell you what, whoever gives you the amulet, what do they say? Oh, it's got Ayatul Kursi written on it, or it's got Quran written on it, or whatever. Oftentimes, in that guise, they put other stuff, and that I want to show you, inshallah, in a second. Before I talk about that, so those are called sigils, or sigils. Okay, there's just magic squares. Are you familiar with the magic squares? There's numbers that add up, diagonally and whatever. Those kind of magic squares, kind of symbols, triangles, all of these bizarre things that you must have seen. I'll show you. I wanted to show you a lot more because this is a masjid and I don't want to cause harm. Yeah. Ouija board. Have you heard about Ouija board? You know about Ouija board? Where you have that, the little piece that you move on top of letters, right? Okay. You will hear a lot of scholars actually say that is a way to invite the jinn. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. By the way, Ouija board has been around for a long time. Okay, it was invented. It has a very complex history, but 1100 AD in China somewhere. It's also called the talking board, or it's called the spirit board. Okay, and the name, I know it sounds exotic, but all it is how do you say yes in French? Oui. And how do you say yes in German? Ja. Ouija. That's literally what it is. It's that's really, they just came up with the name. Parker Brothers now owns it. You can go to a toy store and Amazon, you can buy a Ouija board. So it has that planchette that moves, right? Okay. So when I was a kid, I've done it too. It does move. I swear. It does move. Somebody laughed. That's okay. I'm here to make it real, inshallah. Okay? It does move. Don't do it. Okay? Just stay away from it. However, there are a lot of scientific evidences that actually show how it works. It's actually not the jinns moving it, and Allah knows best. So there is it's part of human psychology. It's called an ideomotor response. So, when you expect something to go somewhere or move something, but you don't want to move, you're not moving at all. You're not moving at all. But something is right here. Unconsciously, you might have a body movement. Because our hands are not, when we think we're still, we're not really not still. Are we still? No. If you actually hold up your hand is shaking just a tad, right? So we're always moving. So we think it moved, but we force it to move. And once it starts moving, then your body wants to kind of move it in that direction. Anyway, this is a whole human psychology element. This has been studied. You can look at the ideomotor response. But a lot of the scholars will come and tell you, Ouija board, don't do it. And I'm telling you, do not do it. It's spooky. And some scholars actually say that has been the reason why the shayateen now contacted. Like, do you want to mess with danger? Do you want to go in the deep end of the ocean and go down without learning how to swim? No. Nobody wants to do that. Do you want to put yourself in danger? No. Are you from the left-hand path people? We do not want to be in touch with the shayateen. We do not want to be in touch with the shayateen. We don't want them to be even close to us. Right? Do not mess with things of the unknown. Okay? Even though you can scientifically explain something, doesn't mean you go about messing with this, because this is horrible. This will mess up your life and the life of those who you love and your community for the rest of your life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us wisdom and protection. Basically, if you can Google it. It's a game. It's like not a game. Okay, so basically there's a little piece that you move on top of alphabets, A, B, C, D, right? So you just put it there, and usually it's more fun to play with multiple people, because multiple people have their hands on that little piece and that piece will move on an A or a B or a C, right? So if multiple people are doing it, because of the ideomotor effect, most likely, people think, none of us are moving it, it's moving by itself. So then it starts to create these words, and people think that they're actually talking to the jinn, to the shayateen. And then you ask a question, is like, hey, what's my father's name? For example, you just is sitting in a room, in a dark room, in a seance kind of an experience, and you just ask a question. It's like, is anyone here? And then the thing goes to yes. Yeah, for example. And then, what's your name? And then you spell out some gobbledygook name, and that will be the name of the shaytan, right? For example. Do you see how it works? Okay. So, by the way, people have used the Ouija board to actually write books, because they didn't know what to write. So they just kind of, had words just kind of come to them, and then they use those words to write books. Yes. Good jinn? I would not enter that world at all. They don't need our help. Okay. All right. So how do you do black magic? Obviously, we don't know, nor we want to learn. But I just want to give you some stuff right now. You obviously will use a spell book or something that you've learned. You feed something that causes other people sickness, right? You feed them something that causes them sick. Talismans, right? Talasim, tamima, right? All of these things, amulets, ta'weez, as we call in the Desi culture, ta'weezat. If you have a ta'weez, please open it up and show it to me, okay? Please don't wear ta'weez. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Man 'allaqa tamima faqad ashrak." Whoever uses a ta'weez, whoever hangs a ta'weez has committed shirk. Because you're putting your trust not in Allah, in that little thing that somebody gave to you. And most likely it's got something really bad in it. Because you might open it up and you don't know Arabic. You probably don't know a lot of the Quranic ayat. You're going to read it, oh, that looks like Quran. It might be Quran. No. It possibly has horrible things in it, yes. And I'll tell you where they get it from. And that's what I want to do, scare you away from all those, yes. It's a way to execute black magic on you. So somebody who might give you a ta'weez or an amulet or a tamima or the talisman, right? They want you to be hurt by it.
They'll tell you it's for protection.
Yeah, they'll tell you it's for protection, but it's actually doing the opposite effect on you. Okay? Get rid of those things from your home, people. All of those magic squares and all of those letters and all of this garbage. Get rid of that from your homes, please. I'll tell you where this is coming from right now. Actually, while I speak about that, let me talk about this. There is a book. It's called the most dangerous book in the world. It's called Shams al-Ma'arif. You know about that? Okay. Shams al-Ma'arif. Guess what? Unfortunately, it's translated in Urdu. It's got some good stuff in it, but it's got lots of bad stuff in it. I brought it in Urdu right here. This is a literal page from Shams al-Ma'arif. Okay? Let me blow this up, and it's too tiny for me to read. But you see these little symbols here, and these little squares with like stuff written on it. It says Allah somewhere, Mikael, Jibril, Israfil, and it will say, it will even say Ayat al-Kursi, but around it there's names of Jinn. There's like horrible things written, and it's like crazy stuff. This, for example, would say, "Logo mein izzat aur waqar hasil karne ka amal." How do you get respect from people? This is what you need to do. You print this out and you put this on you or next to you, and then you will earn the respect from people. So this is a book. It's thousands of pages. It's very big. It's got ridiculous kind of information. All of these fake Maulvis and all these scholars, they're giving you these ta'wizat and all that stuff. Please get rid of them. All of this is getting from this Shams al-Ma'arif book. Okay? I don't want to spend too much time on Shams al-Ma'arif. I just wanted to give you an idea.
Arabic?
Yes. Yeah. It's actually attributed to a person named Ahmad al-Buni in 622 Hijrah or 1225 CE. But he didn't write it. Some of his stuff he was a Sufi saint. Some of his stuff is incorporated, but later on other people like wrote stuff and that it's still attributed to him. So he didn't write it. Okay. This was banned. This book is banned in most of Islamic history. This kind of literature, a spell book, is called a grimoire. It's called, I'm just teaching you a term, grimoire. Okay? It's got gematria, magic squares, talismans, astrology, all kinds of, if you see the Jupiter and goes this way and that way, whatever, and all of these astrological signs, zodiac signs and whatnot, all of this is all astrology. Stay away from all of this stuff. Okay? A lot of people use it to execute magic. How do you know that you've been bewitched? How do you know that you've gotten black magic done on you? Now, this is the main topic of our discussion. If you can read it and you know it's an ayah of the Quran and you know that's an ayah of the Quran, then yeah, of course it's okay to put on the wall. We put stuff on the wall. What does that say? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What does that say? Allah. What does that say? فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Yeah. But if you don't know, please ask. Okay? Otherwise, please don't. I'm just telling the adults over here that stop believing their little peas and Maulvis and that you find in Pakistan, and please stay away from that. Please. Those are giving you these things. Get rid of that stuff from your home. Okay? I could bring it to me and I'll tell you what's not right about it. Alright. How do you know you have black magic done on you? Problem. Everybody thinks that black magic is done on them. Yeah? Whenever you feel sick or things are not going right and your business is failing or you're having just a stroke of bad luck and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put you in a test, all they're coming to is like, I need a raqi, I need to read Afkar and a black magic, somebody's done black magic or somebody's put an evil eye on me. This thing is not as common as we think. It is extremely rare. Everybody with me? It's extremely rare. I am going to read a few symptoms. Don't self-diagnose yourself and think that if you have this, you have, no. It's much more complicated than that, but just to give you an idea. Some ulama say that the jinns cannot give you disease, but again, there's an ayah in the Quran where Ayub alayhi salam says, Anni masani shaytan. Shaytan has touched me and he had disease. And Allah knows best. And jinns can have interaction with the physical world, right? Shayateen can have interaction with the physical world. So can they come and squeeze your heart or something like that? Sure, right? Mess with you? Maybe. I don't know. Allah knows best. I'm not an expert here. But some of the symptoms are tripping and losing control, someone pushing you, or you have these constant severe headaches that cannot be diagnosed by doctors. They don't know why you have these headaches. You have just constant headaches, red eyes, marriages breaking up for no reason. Everybody was fine. You had a happy marriage. You yourself felt happy. There was love between the husband and the wife, and suddenly just, right? Unnatural aversion, like I love being with this person, but suddenly just one day I don't like this person anymore at all, and I don't want to be with them anymore, and I used to spend so much time with this. You understand? Those kinds of things, like bizarre things when they happen. Eating and sleeping habits. You eat very little. Suddenly you love to eat something and then you don't love it anymore, right? At all. It's just completely gone, and you actually hate it. You get a vomiting feeling when you see something like that, right? Oh, are you diagnosing? Knife? Yeah. Your sleeping habits change, right? You're up all night because shayateen are up all night. You're up all night and you're sleeping all day, right? I mean, kids do that, but that doesn't mean, this is a sudden change, right? You used to sleep just fine, those and all of these are they are in combination. They're not just one thing that's a telltale sign. Feeling a presence, difficulty in intimacy, and breaking them in, hallucinations. You see things that are not there, etc. Seizures, etc. So there's one hadith that I want to talk about. Did I scare people now? Okay, I hope. Okay, magic was done on the Prophet ﷺ. You all know about that story? Okay, a lot of some ulama don't actually believe it, but it's actually in Bukhari. It's a Sahih hadith, and we're going to mention it because it's a Sahih hadith. That Rasulullah ﷺ, there was one person. He was a hypocrite, and he had a relationship with the Jews, and he learned magic from them. He learned voodoo. And he did voodoo on Rasulullah ﷺ. And how do you actually do it? I'll tell you in a second. Actually, let me talk about that first. So how is magic done? So you use the victims, whoever you want to harm, their body part, or something like a hair or a piece of skin or something about them, like their birth date or their mother's name or this and that, and some shirt of theirs and their sweat, something that belongs to them, and then that is used. And then you've seen the dolls that you put the pins inside and voodoo, right? Okay. Knots, uqad, right? Bin sharri nafathati fil uqad. Knots. They blow some incantations inside the knots. It's in the Quran, right? And something that is buried, madfoon. So all of these things were done to the Prophet. What did he do? He took the comb of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on which his hair was. His name is Labid ibn Asim Lanatullah alayhi. And he actually tied some knots and whatnot and crazy stuff, and he went and buried that thing in a far away well. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though that was like a really severe case of magic, the effects of the magic on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was hardly anything. The effects because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to think he'd done something, but he hadn't done it. Right? That was the effect of that magic. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him revelation. He saw a dream. 2 angels came and he told him exactly where the magic was done. And he went over there, and in some other narrations with some Sahaba, and he diffused that madfoon thing, that buried thing. Right? He took it out. He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the water of the well was red. And that thing was buried. So he basically, that's when Jibreel alayhi salam came down and told him to recite in Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. So as he was reading the ayat, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ, and he would open up in one of the knots. مِن شَرِّ مَا قَلَقَ, and open up another knot. They're opening the knots as he's reciting them, and that's how he was able to diffuse using ma'awwadatain, using Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. Okay, very quickly. Now, you guys got this story? Okay, Shamsul Ma'arif, we done. Symptoms, we've done. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Jinn possession. Remember what I told you? Extremely rare. Extremely rare. People don't go around doing black magic on other people. It doesn't happen. Take that out of your head. Okay? And I'll give you the fix for it, inshallah. Even if it's in your head, inshallah. Jinn possession. A lot of scholars will use this ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about those who take riba, those who eat the riba, you know, the usury. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس. That person will, there's multiple translations of this ayah. Okay, one of them is the shaitan confounds the person into madness. Confounds the person or touches, the shaitan will touch this person. And some scholars say this will happen on the Day of Judgment. Long story short, a lot of scholars use this ayah to prove jinn possession. Okay? There is a hadith, a very famous hadith of jinn possession. Very, very famous. It's one of the rare ahadiths where Rasulullah, a woman came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, my son, he is having fits of epilepsy, chest, and he said, very famous statement from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ukhruj aduwwullah, get out, O enemy of Allah," meaning get out from him. Ukhruj aduwwullah, ukhruj aduwwullah, ana Rasulullah, I am the messenger of Allah. Ukhruj aduwwullah, ana Rasulullah, I am the messenger of Allah. And then the hadith says, and this hadith is in Ahmad and other narrations. Then some other narrations say the child was healed, and in some other narrations it says something came out of his mouth, and it was like a black animal or something like that, a small black animal that came out of his mouth. Allahu Akbar. Okay. Does jinn possession happen? A lot of scholars believe it. I personally, this is me, throw it in the garbage if you don't agree with me. I don't believe there's strong evidence of jinn possession, and Allah knows best. And if you read, Ibn Taymiyyah even says there's jinn possession. Everybody says jinn possession, so I'm nobody. So I just wanted to put myself in the place. Everybody says there's jinn possession, and Allah knows best. The problem is, and all of the scholars will tell you this, it's very hard to tell if it's a psychiatric disorder or jinn possession. So you cannot, yes.
If it's in a hadith, then how is that?
Have you studied hadith sciences?
No.
Okay. Study hadith sciences. What was I saying? It's very hard to tell the difference between a psychiatric disorder, like somebody who has schizophrenia, or somebody who has bipolar disorder, or somebody who has just kind of seizure problem because they have a tumor in their brain or something like that. So how can you, the symptoms of what you might think is somebody is possessed by jinn, and somebody who has a actual disease, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cure everybody, give everybody cure, how can you tell the difference? Well, there's some ways. For example, if they heard the adhan, if there's aversion, you don't like listening to anything to the dhikr of Allah. You don't want to listen. If so much so that when you hear the Quran or the adhan, it terrifies you. You want to just run away. You want to find an excuse to, you don't never enter the masjid, for example. So there are ways to tell those things apart, but Allah knows best if this is evidence. But for example, those who, this is what scholars say, the experts, they say that whoever is possessed by the jinn, they will be filthy. They will do all these bad things. Remember how the black magicians are doing the stuff that they're doing? They love filth, they love evil, they love to do nasty things and harm people. They'll blaspheme about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do all these kinds of nasty left-hand path things that we talked about earlier. If you find those things, then definitely there's something wrong. Definitely. And Allah knows best. Now, I'm not saying jinns are not, or shayateen are not causing you to do that. I'm saying there's a difference between possessing, like a jinn becoming inside of you, versus them impacting you. Does that make sense? Or we believe in waswas, for example, right? So jinn is doing like extra super duper turbo waswas on you, right? That's messing with you. So Allah knows best. Okay. Exorcism. Ruqya. Okay? Then if there's nothing you want to take away today, if you don't remember anything, just remember this ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بعد أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الناس, O people, قد جاءتكم موعظة من ربكم. A counsel, an advice, a manual has come from your Lord for you. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about? The Quran. Okay? وَشِفَاءٌ لِمَا فِي الصُّدُورِ. And it is a cure for whatever is inside of you. Whatever is inside your chest. Meaning bad thoughts, hatred, envy, disease, whatever kind of affliction, anything. Quran is what? Shifa. It's a cure. Not a remedy, not a medicine. It is a cure. There's a difference. You understand what I mean? A treatment and a cure? Okay, there's a huge difference between a treatment and a cure. And also it is what? وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And it is a guidance and it is a mercy for those who believe in it. Right? Story of Surah Al-Fatiha. Long story short, I'll just make it very short. That some Sahaba were traveling somewhere and they went into a tribe. They didn't really want to take care of them, but one of the tribal leaders got sick. And one of the Sahabi, he did Ruqya on him. And then they gave him some money. And they came back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that this is what happened. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was like, what did you do? I was like, yeah, I recited Surah Fatiha on him. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, وَمَا يُدْرِكَ أَنَّهَا رُقْيَةٌ. How did you know that it was a Ruqya? Ruqya means what? Healing. What does Ruqya mean? Healing. Not cure, but healing. Okay? So Rasulullah, from this hadith, a very, very famous, super famous hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, how did you know Surah Al-Fatiha is a Ruqya? So what do we learn from this? What will give us healing? Surah Al-Fatiha. Clear? Okay. Power of the Quran. Quran, 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 Quran. Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from Ahlul Quran. Allahumma ameen. وَمَا نُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ. Nothing has been revealed in the Quran except it is a cure. It is a shifa. وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And a mercy for the believers. وَلَا يَزِيدِ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. And the wrongdoers, meaning who don't use it as that and ignore the Quran, all they have is nothing but loss. You don't need to go to an exorcist. You don't need to go to a Raqi. Raqi is not giving you the cure. You guys following me? The person who's doing the Ruqya, you don't need that person. Can you do Ruqya on yourself? Yes. Are we asked to do Ruqya on ourselves all the time? Yes. What are the azkar of the day and the night? If you read them, what are they? All of these things. Okay? I will teach you the Ruqya right now. Okay? It is super simple. You don't need to go to a Raqi. Okay? Just learn this. It's very easy, but there's preconditions. What are the preconditions? You will only use the Quran or the authentic Sunnah. You will only use the Quran and the authentic Sunnah, not some mumbo jumbo words from your other peer or whatever. Some other person that's wearing funny hats, right? And funny clothes, and with a long beard that's touching the ground or whatever. Okay? Only the Quran and the authentic Sunnah. And if you have a question, ask me. I will tell you where it came from. Okay, inshallah. Okay. You can read it in Arabic, but you can also read it if you don't know Arabic. You can read it in your own language if you know the meaning. Okay, because it's the meaning that matters. Okay, but for Quran, just read the Quran in Arabic. Okay, because that's the word from Allah, and you have to believe that Quran is a cure. What do you have to believe? Quran is a cure. And what you have to believe, Allah will protect you. If you ask Allah, if you make dua to Allah, Allah will protect you. So make dua with that kind of yaqeen. You understand? This is the principle of Ruqya. If you don't have any of this, it's gonna mean nothing. It's gonna be as good as a Jack and Jill went up the hill. It means nothing. Okay. Alright. Also, it is known that Rasulullah ﷺ, whenever he did azkar, like mu'awwadatain, sometimes he would do nafath. Nafath, you know, min sharri nafathati fil uqad, that nafath. What does it mean? This nafath mean, okay, to blow. Not blow, but do, you're not really spitting, but you're making the spitting sound. Okay? Spitting sound. You could do the dhikr and spit, making a spitting sound. Some people you'll see that do that in the masjid, where they do the nafath on their hands and they rub it on their bodies. Like for example, that's completely fine. Or you can do the nafath on water, on zamzam water or regular water, red tap water, right? Or Avian or whatever. Yeah, Dasani, water, whatever. Okay, you can do this Ruqya. What is Ruqya? Simple. Fatiha, Surah Al-Fatiha. Okay, Ayatul Kursi. As we learned last week, because Allah will appoint a guardian for you. As much Quran as you want to recite on it. Surah Al-Baqarah, for example, if you want to. That's optional, but I'm giving you the mini Ruqya. Okay, Fatiha, Ayatul Kursi, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Qul Huwallahu Ahad, right? Qul A'udhu bi Rabbil Falaq, and Qul A'udhu bi Rabbin Nas. Khalas, that's it. And you do that over and over and over upon you, and you can do nafath, or you can continue to read and recite. That is Ruqya. It's not something that only certain people know how to do, and nothing. Don't believe people like that, okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not hide this stuff. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this Quran is your cure. Quran, dhikr, dhikr, dhikr. Two things to protect yourself from any kind of harm. Not just jinn or shayateen, from any kind of harm. Quran with meaning. You need to know what it means. 2, Allah, I submit to Allah and He will protect me, and you make dua. Dhikr, salah, tahajjud, sawm, fasting. Fasting is a shield. It will protect you from harm. It will curb down the shayateen. Right? You're everybody with me? Okay, last thing I will talk about, inshallah we will end. How do you know? So if you went to a raqi, if you went to an exorcist, it's like, I am impacted by jinn, or I have jinn possession. By the way, there's lots of stories you can YouTube for them, inshallah. You'll find lots of information on this. But how do you know somebody, the raqi is actually the right raqi? If he asks or she asks for your mother's name or your birth date, or asks you for your personal items, they're up to no good. Run as fast as you can away from them. Doesn't matter if they're the sheikh of a masjid, or they have, mashallah, so much beautiful Quran, or whatever they recite, whatever. They are, remember, the left-hand path people, they want to show that they're the ones in control. Run far away from them. Okay? If they're giving you ta'wizat and these amulets to wear and put it in your home and hang on the walls, and it's got these squares and triangles and funny things that you don't understand, and numbers and letters, stay away from them. Run away from them. Okay? If while doing ruqya they're doing some haram things, that there's inappropriate touching, there's inappropriate exposure, there's no need. When you're doing ruqya, do you need to touch anybody? Like, even if, let's say, somebody's having a fit, right? Somebody's having some kind of a seizure. Yes, you want to hold them down at that point, but only at that point, not unnecessarily, right? And by the way, some people get superpower strength, when, in the jinn possession cases, they have these 10 men can't even hold somebody down. Okay? It's that kind of strength. So in that case, it's understandable, but otherwise there's no reason for that. And they're going to ask you for a lot of money. I heard somebody pay thousands of dollars for just one little garbage little triangle from someone, because it's going to give them protection or something. Subhanallah. Quran and dhikr. Everybody knows Ruqya. Tell me, who can tell me Ruqya? Yeah, what is the first thing? Fatiha. Second thing, Ayatul Kursi. Third thing, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Falaq and Nas. Great, excellent. Can you do more Quran? Absolutely. There's more ayat. I have prepared something that I'm going to share with you, all of you, inshallah. But you don't go with me. Even the azkar, just say morning azkar and evening azkar. Have you ever heard of them? They're all this. They're all of this. Literally, they're all of this. Okay? And more. And there's a hadith, yes?
So some herbal medicine, take this, take a shower with this.
Take a shower with it?
Yeah, it's like a oil, like you put
No.
It has
No. Unless they're doing dhikr on that oil, that's Quran. I don't know. That sounds funny to me.
how about like just a herbal medicine like that?
No, but which medicine? Like homeopathic medicine?
Yeah, like
But that's homeopathy. That's not homeopathy, as other people call it. I don't know. What is he, an exorcist or a homeopathic doctor? I don't know. I'm really confused about that. You could be both. I don't know. Yeah. So all of us, we should do this every single day, every single night, and inshallah we will be protected from the shaytan. But basically, what do shaytan want? Take you away from Quran and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what they want. Whether it's jinn possession or not, whether it's black magic or not, whether it's evil eye or not, whether it's whatever kind of harm, Quran and belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's so simple. Our deen is super simple.